It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Follow that gorgeous sound all the way to your TV, your Live with Express, as we delve into a little baby talk. Parenting experts and co-authors of the incredible Sense series books. They've been an unbelievable resource to me. Meg Faure, OT, and Ann Richardson, registered nurse and midwife, bring you the updated and expanded third edition of their very highly acclaimed practical guide to parenting in the first year. The essential year. Baby Sense has, over the years, become, I think, probably the best-loved baby care book in South Africa, understandably, and many parents call it their baby Bible. This month sees the launch of its latest edition. Meg, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Graham.
You have given birth to your own brand new baby. I have to say, from personal experience, I mean, Baby Sense was pretty much, our Bible. And I think a lot of young parents, and I mean new parents by that, I'm definitely not a young parent, have relied so much on this. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd love to just talk about the broader success of the Brandon campaign. Just very quickly, before we delve into our topic this morning, but why do you think this has been so helpful? What have you kind of nailed here when you think about patting yourself on the back, in fact, for the success that you've achieved?
So I think the reason that Baby Sense ended up being so acclaimed is that it was so well received. The first thing is that it explained why babies do what they do. And I think before Baby Sense, a lot of books would tell you how to do it, but they didn't help you to connect with your baby. And one of the chapters in the books looked at your baby's signals and your baby's state. And once parents understood that, they could actually solve the problems themselves. So that was the first thing. And the second thing is that we gave mums a way to do a flexible routine, mums and dads. So when to put your baby down to sleep and how that affects things like crying and colic and that sort of thing. So I think that's why it kind of had the acclaim that it did.
Yeah, I'm glad you used colic, because this is where we're going to be practical now, because that's where the books are so useful. Every part of it gives you kind of an insight and a tool that you can use. Is there any conclusive research that tells us why newborn babies experience colic? Because it's universal. Just about every parent out there has experienced this in some way or another. Is there kind of conclusive research about it?
Yeah, there's been a huge amount of research, because it's actually one of the most costly healthcare issues in the UK, and so there's been a lot of money channeled into the research. But the truth is that there's no conclusive reason behind colic. We know that 20% of babies do experience colic, which is defined as having 3 hours of crying, and generally in the late evening. A lot of the research has looked at the gut, because when your baby's crying with colic, they pull up their legs and they look like their tummy's sore. And actually the word colic refers to abdominal discomfort. But what that could never describe or never explain was why colic happened in the evening. Because if it was abdominal, then surely it could happen at any time of day. But it doesn't. It centers itself around between 5 and 7 in the evening. And so new research is now kind of looking at, is it maybe a brain immaturity, that the baby just gets overstimulated at that time of day and then starts to hyper-respond.
So it's like a short circuit.
It is. It's like a little, and they become overstimulated, and then anything that is going on in the gut, which shouldn't be an issue, suddenly becomes a major issue for them, and they become very irritable.
It's nature's way of slapping you in the face and saying, welcome to the party. You're a parent now, but you thought this was going to be all easy, but no. But there are ways that you can deal with it. Your top tips for helping establish good sleeping habits.
Yes, so there's an entire chapter in the book on sleep, and of course that's really one of the biggest conundrums for parents, because there's nothing worse than being sleep deprived.
The knock-on effects.
Exactly, and then trying to do the hardest job in the world, parenting. So my top tips, I would say, first of all, from a very little age, try not to feed to sleep, because that feed to sleep habit, when you fall into that over time, it can really become tough, because your baby will wake up throughout the night needing the same thing of being fed to sleep. So that's definitely one. Another big one is to establish a good bedtime routine, because a bedtime routine, particularly if you do it in the early days, as you get through into the toddler years, it becomes a real trigger for sleep. So you won't have that battle of getting your toddler to sleep. So bedtime routine would be my second one.
Oh man, there are so many different directions we could take with this, but absolutely loving it. We're going to continue our discussion in just a moment with Meg. We are talking about Baby Sense and understanding. We are taking the role of the baby this morning, how they feel, how they experience, and that often is the best way to get tips on how to help our baby have the most stimulating, best, most critical phase of development as a newborn. But we'll continue the discussion now.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
I just love that sound. It's going to make you happy, especially if you're a brand new parent. And if you are a brand new parent, this chat is just for you because we are talking about one of the best new parenting resources out there, Baby Sense. It's a revolution, it's a movement, and Meg is a big part of that, one of the co-creators of it. 17 years, Meg, since the first edition, Incantation, was published. How much has changed in our understanding and the way that we parent in 17 years?
So the good news is babies haven't changed.
For millennia, yeah.
But some science has changed, actually quite dramatically. And the biggest area of change has been on infant feeding. So probably about 10 years ago, babies were discouraged parents were discouraged not to give solids to their babies until 6 months. And the science has now actually refuted that, showing that instead of decreasing allergies by late introduction, we've actually increased allergies through late introduction. So one of the things we had to change in the book was the weaning advice. And so that's come in line with now the latest research and my other book, Weaning Sense, where we're looking really at weaning babies between 4 and 6 months of age.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a big thing. The other thing that's huge that's changed, and I mean, I was a mum 17 years ago, a new mum. The one thing that's changed dramatically is technology. So we didn't have cell phones and tablets that were, we didn't have tablets at all.
Dr. Google.
But also our babies didn't have access to it, and they didn't have our heads, parents' heads, buried in our technology either. Wow. So we had to flag that element in the book as well, because there is an impact on development through technology. And then there were funny things we had to change. You won't believe in the other book, we still referred to cassette tapes. I mean, it wasn't that long ago.
A cassette tape, guys, it's a small plastic thing with actual tape in it that plays the music that you could wind with a pencil.
So there were little changes, yeah.
That's so funny, but so it really does motivate why you can update and continue to grow and evolve. And I think it's always worth knowing that as a parent, that you can constantly grow, and there are ways that you can improve that relationship with your baby, because that's what it is. It's about forming a relationship, a two-way flow of understanding, communication, love, and caring. What has been the best part about this journey for you? Because it must have been such a wonderful path to walk.
Yeah, it's funny, when I wrote the first book, Baby Sense, I can remember saying to my husband, I think it might be a flop, and so you must go into every shop and buy them off the shelves so it looks like it's popular. And of course it wasn't like that. We reprinted within the first couple of months, and it's been a success ever since. And then I think the other part that's been amazing is what it's led on to. I developed the Baby Sense product company, which I then subsequently sold. That was the Taglet and Cuddle Wraps, those products. And then more recently, the next biggest seller was Weaning Sense. So it's kind of led on to a journey for me that has helped parents, through multiple levels,
It really is about levels. So we've kind of gotten into the differences, with the new edition, and how this is, I think, really good for our own education to continue on that advice. I've got to ask you in a general sense, because you're constantly having to distill massive amounts of information and research and make it translatable, something that we as new, confused, tired, exhausted, terrified parents have to kind of take in. What is the overriding advice that you want to leave with new parents, other than go and buy the new edition of the book, obviously?
I think a big thing is to trust their gut. We don't trust our gut as parents, and that's got worse and worse as we've gone along through the journey of Baby Sense because of Dr. Google. So we Google everything. We take a massive amount of lead from social media, from our friends and so on. And I just think parents need to be cautioned against that. Try and choose one voice of reason. Somebody, and the book, I think, is a really good place to go.
Because it's many voices of reason all distilled into one.
Well, we really do take the science and distill it into sense. But even if it's not the book, if it's a clinic sister, and try and choose that one voice, and then filter the rest. Because otherwise, for everybody that you ask a question to, you will get a different answer, and then you're confused. So, trust your gut and listen to one voice.
If I can give advice to everyone else that's wanting to give advice to a new parent, don't ever say to them, sleep when the baby sleeps, okay? Just don't ever say that.
People don't like that.
No, we don't. Could you see how much I was trying to absorb there? Because being a parent is one of the most rewarding processes ever, but it does help to have great advice, great resources, and I think from a personal perspective, to have you on that couch weekly over the last few months as I've kind of embarked on this journey has been amazing. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Graham.
Well done.
Thank you.
There's a new edition. We're going to put up, obviously, where you can get this resource, but there's a new edition of Baby Sense out now. If you're a parent wanting to improve your relationship with your baby, improve your life, get a copy.